I'm here with William Brent Bell, the director of Lord of Misrule. I don't know if you're familiar with the game Blood on the Clock Tower, but I got heavy vibes of that. I kind of really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. What do you call it, like a period piece? But it's not a period piece because it's
Yeah.
set in the whole time I'm watching. I'm like, oh, this is a period piece. And at one point, someone's like, check social media. I'm like, wait, what? Okay, cool. But how did this movie come about?
Well, it came about. I love your background. It's and not. I might know that game if I looked. I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm not like a student of that game. Um, the movie came about. James Tomlinson, my producing partner on this movie, sent me the script and was just like, "You have to read this quickly. It's really good." And then I like within like 5 pages was like, "Oh yeah, this is great." And just an incredible world that was kind of created. You could tell really quickly, and we just developed it with the writer from there. Really.
Yeah. Also, another thing you do really well in this, like early on, you have that, what would you call like a festival or like a Halloween festival. Later on, you got like people coming over, it seems like for like a dinner party. And
Yeah.
then even kind of towards the later half where you get kind of sort of that Legion vibe, like just a bunch of people hanging out doing things. Like a lot of your movies are horror. You ever think of doing like a hangout movie, like a Dazed and Confused? Because I think you'd really nail that.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I like Dazed and Confused is like one of my favorites. Like the Coen brothers or so many. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call those hangout movies that they do, but they do everything. Yeah, I mean, I love that vibe. I mean, I probably would not just do a straight hangout movie. I would probably somehow either introduce horror or turn it into a horror film in some way, shape, or form, just to kind of spice it up anyway. Why not? Dazed and Confused meets whatever. But I love that vibe. I love working with like ensemble casts and letting them kind of, let their personalities come through their characters. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah, a lot of that is with the Days and Confused, they take some hot drugs and end up killing themselves, and bam, there, there you go.
Exactly.
I also noticed like early on, I think like about half your movies you've written and directed, and half of them you've went with other screenplays. What goes with that decision? Like, when do you decide like, oh, I'm going to write something, or when do you decide you take another script and oh, I want to do that one? And what's the difference in directing each one? Like, do you take on a certain amount of responsibility on scripts that you haven't written or ones you have, and so on and so forth?
The difference is sort of like early in my earlier movies, I was writing them with Matt Peterman and we were creating them from scratch. And that's what got me into directing the movies. And so at that point, nobody was giving me scripts anyway. And then when people, it's hard to find good horror scripts because I feel like if it's really good, there should be a way that the writer should make it because that's kind of like one thing about the genre is it gives people a chance to make films. So it's rare that one comes across that's great. And The Boy was the first movie I ever made that, I didn't write. But once you get into the process, it just as protective and I'm just as responsible for everything. I think there are probably other directors that come in and just kind of show up and don't change the script much, but I'm depending on what it is, really involved. Usually I'll do a rewrite of the script, and sometimes I don't take credit for that or whatever. And sometimes I'll just work really closely with the writer because at the end of the day, I want it to become kind of as much my movie as possible. So because the story's kind of coming through me, but it depends, and it's just about time. Sometimes, I mean, I love creating things from scratch, and I love reading something great that hooks me like this did.
Yeah, what are some stuff like when you're looking at a script? What are some things that you look at where you're like, oh, I got to do this one? Like,
Well, this one was pretty easy. Like immediately in Lord of Misrule, like we introduce Grace, the daughter, and she's dressed up for the festival, and she, you know, pulls a lock of her hair out strangely, and then she grabs the scissors and goes outside and picks up her pet bunny and brings the scissors up to its throat. And the script was, the same. And then we're intercutting kind of the church and then we're starting to see the festival. So immediately I was like, wow, this is really painting a world that I want to get to know more about. That's pretty unique to me. And it's pretty pretty twisted that like the first thing that's happening is this girl almost doing something to this bunny rabbit. And I was like, that's a good sign that the script's going to be great because he's already doing really interesting things. And then as that festival unfolds and I became more familiar with the mythology, it's like it's a highly unique mythology, but it's also kind of steeped in history. So it felt complex and unique to me, but it also felt like kind of easy to understand. And I thought that was just great writing. And for me, it just was very clear very quickly. I felt like I knew how I wanted to make the movie, which is always kind of the main thing. If I feel like, oh yeah, I'm speaking this guy's language as well, like we wrote it together almost, is what it felt like.
Yeah, I love cryptids. The I guess demon in this one kind of had a lot of Wendigo vibes of that. But what is the mythology of this demon? Like not within the movie, but just in real life, I guess.
There is nothing in real life. I mean, Lord of Misrule is a pretty it's been around forever. I think Roman times, and Lord of Misrule was a guy who was kind of the town idiot who would get to be king for a week and just have a great party for the Feast of Fools, and then he would be executed. And then that kind of festival, that legend carried on through different countries for hundreds of years. And we did a change on it to where now the Lord of Misrule is kind of the hero of the town who chases the demon out. And the demon is Galogog. And that's something that Tom created. I mean, I thought when I first read about it, I thought it was pulled from something else, some other legend, but it's not. It's even a hard word to find even. But generally, like the story of kind of a spirit god that lives in the forest, takes your children, things like that. They're themes we've played around with before with stories, certainly scary stories. And this one was pretty unique. And there's so much more to the mythology in this one, but that's the basics, I think.
Yeah, and you've also assembled a hell of a cast. Tuppence and Middleton is great in this, and Ralph Ineson. I mean, he's great in everything.
Yeah,
like you're reading the script, you're going to direct it, you start putting the cast together. Like, how does that process go?
It's different. Like casting a movie, part of it's auditions, part of it's just meeting with certain actors I'm a fan of, perhaps. And then sometimes it's like a left turn. And so, with Tuppence, she was somebody I was a fan of. She was like at the top of my list of UK actresses when we were in the UK that I wanted to meet. And then she responded to the script and we had a great meeting. And then, we had another meeting about notes and changing the script. And so she became, Rebecca pretty quickly. And then Ralph was somebody I knew I wanted to be in the movie, and I've worked with him before and we're good friends. And I think, like you said, like he's great in everything he's in. And he just, brings something kind of unique to his character no matter what. And in this case, the script that Tuppence signed on to, Jocelyn was a woman. It was like a 70-year-old woman. And I went to go meet with him about playing a smaller part in the movie, which seemed kind of like a waste. As we got to talking, basically, it was, I asked him if he would be interested in playing Jocelyn, and who, of course, was a woman in the script. And he thought that was really cool. And then we decided for him to, for the first thing I did before I fully made it official was I called Tuppence and I was like, listen, are you cool if Ralph Ineson plays Jocelyn and we make it a man? And she's like, if he wants to do that, that's amazing. Like, then do it. And I was like, great. And then, the first thing we did, we were going to change her name from Jocelyn. And then we both decided, let's keep her the way she is and not change a thing about her, pretty much.
And also,
that was a pretty different kind of way to cast somebody in a role.
Yeah, I would say so. But like you did Orphan First Kill right before this, Separation before that, Brahms Boy 2. Like you're just one after another. I'm assuming you got 2 or 3 movies all ready to go after this one, or what do you got coming up next?
Yeah, we have 2 movies we're going to shoot in 2024. Both of them going to be shot in the UK with the same crew, some of the same cast, I hope. One's more science fiction and horror, and one is pretty much horror. I guess you'd say horror, like thriller, drama.
It's like Dazed and Confused, but horror.
Yeah, and that's the third one now. I'll call you about that later. Yeah, it's like we're developing another movie in the Boy franchise, and it lends itself more to what you're describing, I would say, about the Dazed and Confused. But I don't know. It's too early really to say.
Sweet. One of the questions we ask everyone is we have a what's in the box segment. And in this box, we have people put movies that are like really personal to them, or maybe they're just an underseen movie. Like this movie's really good and no one ever talks about it. What's a movie you would like to put in the box?
Well, a movie I would put in the box would be The Other. It's not The Others, which is a cool movie with Nicole Kidman. It's a movie from like 1972, I think, in 1974, called The Other, and it's about two twin brothers growing up in this like remote kind of farm area. One's good and one's bad, and one starts kind of people start winding up dead in different ways. And then it's like the name Holland, the poster is like, where's the baby Holland? Very much like what's in the box. And
there you go.
And it's where's the baby Holland?
We'll change the segment to what's in the baby. Just start pulling movies that we
or
won't
what's in the
that.
box Holland, which is the last name of this family in this movie, the Hollands. But it's a great movie. It was based on a novel in the same era that like The Exorcist and The Omen came out originally. It's just a weird, creepy movie with a huge twist. That's just, so many things about it are great.
Well, weird and creepy. You're speaking to my heart. I love weird and creepy. But William, thanks for joining me. And
Yes.
Lord of Misrule will be available in theaters. Thumbs up for that, and on demand December 8th. Congratulations, and hope a lot of people see this one. I think they'll be rightfully creeped out by it.
All right. Thanks, man.